So if you're familiar with these bikes, especially the FX or FXS, there is zero storage compartment. Maybe that's why it's referring to zero, I don't know, but there is no space on these bikes for anything like to do. There's no storage space at all on these bikes for anything. So what my plan is, once the seat's off, there's a tiny little space under the seat. Thinking of wiring, putting the module in there, picking up a 12-volt supply off the back light through a fuse, wire up to the front to pick up the on-off switch and the rev button. On the module it's very good, but I don't have space for it. You can actually wire a remote volume switch, which I wouldn't mind doing on there. I don't know, I might do that. I might get the wiring ready for that, and I might do it later. And then the speaker. What I'm planning to do with the speaker is I bought some aluminium plate, which I think I'm going to paint black. The idea is, I don't know if it's going to work or not, I'm going to mount that under there somehow. Aluminium plate painted black. Just have to cut it down, I think. Anyway, these are marine speakers. There's two in there. I'd like to fit two, but I think if it's not possible, I'm going to just fit one. Speaker mount. So I'm going to mount the plate onto the bike, and I've printed off on the 3D printer. I printed off two of these. I didn't know if I was going to be using two. So I'm going to mount these on the aluminium plate. So these are marine speakers. They're designed to meant to be waterproof apparently. So I'm going to mount the speaker in there on my 3D printed pod. Mount these to the plate. The seat is off. This is what I mean about on the Zero, on the FXS. That's the only real space to put anything in there. So I've tapped into the back wiring harness. I think the brown and the black is the permanent 12-volt supply. So I've tapped into that. I've soldered them on. I've just spliced into them. I put some of this mini flexible protective tubing on it, and I've brought them inside under the seat. So that's my 12-volt supply to feed the box. But what I'm going to have to do with one of these, this 12-volt supply is going to go up to the front. I'm going to mount a switch up there, so I'm going to have full control over it. I'm not going to have it running permanently off the ignition. So I want the capabilities to switch it on and off. This is what I mean about the switch. I want to get a switch that just mounts there. That's just the two buttons. So it'll be the rev button and the on-off button. I was even tempted to slide this along a little bit, and maybe if I can get it in there. It's a shame about that one. They're not expensive, those switches, so I might get another one. If it's just got the two buttons, I'll be happy with that. So that's the permanent supply in there, and they're ready. Next thing to do, which shouldn't be too difficult probably, I might just take one of these side panels off. I'll see which way the cables route. The switch I was intending to use, as I suspected, it's not going to fit where I want it to go. There's the overhang. This bit interferes with stuff, so I'm going to just try and get one of these with just two buttons on it, or I'll find something else. There's no point even running any wiring, because there's quite a bit of cable on that. I could stretch that down and make a joint further along maybe. So I've had to take all the panels off basically, so it's all plastic, just screws. So I'll have to order a different one of those. So I'm going to go on and carry on with the speaker. Might as well get the speaker in. So plan A again didn't work, was to mount an aluminium plate and put two speakers in. So that didn't work, so I've had to take the front cowl off, space out where the mudguard would have been. I had to remove the mudguard as well. There's one plastic clip at the top there. Looks like it's lost its bottom jaw now, just the mudguard gone. Anyway, so what I did, I've bolted the speaker, my 3D printed speaker mount straight onto this plastic shroud. I've nut and bolted it on so it's not going anywhere. So I'm going to refix that. I'll see if I need to get the wiring in first. I've got some speaker cable. I might just run some twin 2-core black covered cable, just run it up and cable tie along the frame. And then, so what I'll do, I'm going to refit this, put this back on the bike, and we'll see how it looks. I've reassembled the plastic shroud parts again. There's the speaker in situ. It clears the mudguard, if I'll get the light around here. Clears the mudguard, no problem. It's not a problem, mudguard doesn't hit. Whoa. So that looks alright, it's all in black, so that blends in well. I can't see anywhere else to put it. There's no physical places on this bike to actually put anything. There's a speaker in, it's bolted up, it's connected. I've left quite a bigger loop of the cable tucked down the front, so if I remove the front shroud again, I've got ample cable to just let it hang on the floor. So I've routed the cable up through the back. It's there, and I've gone round the back. So I'm going to try and bring all the wiring in on one side only, I think. Just try and keep it all tidy. 12 volt supply. I've got my speaker cable now. So the next thing to look at is my hall sensor pickup. What I'm thinking, so it says if you've got a small sprocket space, just put 2 magnets on the sensor. What I thought initially was to mount 4 magnets on the rear sprocket. I'm thinking of just like arrowditing them on somehow. Just glue them in on the sort of just hide them there. Just put 4 little tiny magnets on there and then try and mount the sensor somehow. I don't know how I'm going to mount that. But my other option is to mount, just to glue the little the magnets on the front of that motor. And that'll give me, if it goes round and it clears the frame at the back, that could be a good option. I don't know how much space is in there. Mount a little sensor there and bring up the wiring through the back up to the control box. Other parts from Amazon, good old Amazon. So let's see where we're at with this sound system for EVs. That push button switch that I had was no good. It's literally just 2 buttons. You've got a stop, an on-off button and a momentary button, which is ideal. There's no indicator switch on this one. I don't need all that stuff on it. It will just... So this is the switch. Although the wiring comes out the wrong way, it's not the end of the world. It's quite flexible. So I'm thinking mount that in there. I've moved these controls along a little bit. So that's going to go in there. Say, that still gives me plenty of room for doing the horn and the indicator. And then I've got the on-off for the sound system and the rev button. I've extended the loom on this because it's only... comes down to about there. It's quite short. The other one was quite long. It went quite far into the bike. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to just mount that on the handlebars. Get this all nice and tidy. Cable tie it round. Goes down behind the headlight into the back and follows these brake lines. And I'll jump into the only cubbyhole space available on the bike. And also I did notice, I mean, it's unavoidable. But, and I know people are going to make comments, but that speaker is going to get the brunt. If it's heavy rain, that speaker is going to get the brunt of the water straight on it on a straight line run. It is a marine speaker. I don't think it's supposed to be underwater, but anyway, that'll put it to the test. If not, I'll have to think of something else. The controller's been fitted now. The push buttons, so I think they've worked out well there. Blending well there, I think. So I've still got access to indicators, horn, hazard lights, which I can't really see the point of that. But so yeah, I've got the rev button there, and I'll have the on-off button there. So that's that in, fitted. I've put all that back together, I've tightened that back up. I've routed the cable round, I've tied it round. Tried to make it look as stock as possible. Goes around the back of the headlight. Comes up through here, under this lot, all cable tied. I'll put this panel back on. I like to put things back together as as I'm finishing sections, then I know that bit's done. So I've got my wires here now. This is my crude attempt at, this is the great thing of 3D printers. I don't know if you can see that there. Anyway, I made this part on Tinkercad with my 3D printer. I think the hoops are a bit big. The hoops are for the cable to run through. So, in my wisdom, I'll show you what I'm planning on doing with this. So, I cannot fit the magnets to the front sprocket because there's not enough clearance on the front sprocket for the magnet to rotate round. So that would have been ideal there, because the wire could just gone straight up into the void. So this is my next plan. Hopefully it won't look too unsightly. I'm thinking of aralditing, like a 2-pack, 2-part glue resin. Thinking of aralditing 4 magnets to the back sprocket. Hopefully it shouldn't look too ugly. Then this, what I made, I will either put some tape on it, double-sided tape, and stick it down or cable tie it. I've made it narrow so I can adjust it here. The plan is to mount this sensor on the front of it. It'll all be more apparent then. But what I did, I mounted it straight, so like that, but I don't think that's going to work, so I might have to re-drill this plate. I'm thinking I might have to aim the sensor like that into the... I mean, the magnets stick out a little bit, so it should... Obviously, if the wheel's got to come off, this will have to be taken off this bracket part. So that's why if I cable tie it, it shouldn't be too bad. So I'm thinking of mounting the sensor there. I might have to drill the plate at a bit of an angle, I think, but it doesn't matter. I've got the plate anyway now, which I've made. So that will be there, which doesn't look too unsightly. What I'd like to do next, actually, is start connecting up these wires and see if I can get something working. I've had another idea as well, as I've got 2 speakers, and this the sound system will take 2 speakers. So what I'm thinking, I'll see how I get on. If I really wanted to, I could mount a second speaker under the back, but I'm going to run it on 1 speaker for now because I want to see how it sounds. I suppose if you want to rev bomb someone as you went past them, then that would be ideal, wouldn't it? The magnets are glued on. I've just put some tape to hold them in place. I've used some double-sided tape on this. I hope it's sufficient. I cleaned it with some panel cleaner. There's not really, you'd have to put a cable tie around the whole thing, I think, here to get it to stay. Hopefully it won't come off. So, I don't know if you can see it there. The spacing only needs to be, it says it needs to be like a few millimeters. I don't know if you'll be able to see it with this. There where my finger is. The magnet sensor is there, pickup. They're the magnets coming round. I don't know if you can see them. There's about 2 or 3 millimeter gap between there. I've just run the cable round. I've clamped it underneath the plastic guard there, and I've gone up, cable tied it into the frame, onto the frame, and tied up all the wiring and just pushed it all back under there now. So that's all in situ now. I'll give you a little demo on the hall sensor pickup. I'm not that happy with it. You could probably alter that. When you get the original sound module, there is a sound generator within the module, so you can alter the sound settings, volume, and so forth. So it sounds like when you're running it in first gear, so when you get up to about 30 miles an hour, it sounds like you're screaming the hell out of it. There's probably a way to alter that on the sound file, so when it accelerates, you've got more of a wider range, so it doesn't sound like you're screaming up the road. Let's fire it up so you can have a listen. So that's it in idle, like we said. We've got the rev. Okay, let's give it a. I've got it on a jack at the moment, the back wheel. Hopefully it won't disappear out the front of the garage. So let's give it a little rev, and you can hear with the hall pickup sensor. Let's get it turning. If I go a bit faster, you can see what I mean about the speed. It sounds like you're doing a first gear run without changing gear. There is a way I like the way it goes back down. If you just listen, I like the way it goes back down as well. It's quite good. It's quite nice and variable. Yeah, I might look into the sound file. So what you do, you alter the settings and you reinsert the SD card back into the module. When it reboots, it reloads the file. So that might be a thing for another day. But that's it, project done. I'm going to leave this now, let the glue set. I'm quite happy with it overall. I think the main selling point for this, for me, was the rev button. So tell us what you think. Leave your comments, only nice ones please. I know it's an electric bike and it defeats the object of having sound, but I think there are currently trying to make laws in place whereby electric vehicles will have to create some kind of sound, anything below like 15 miles an hour in built up areas, which makes sense I think realistically. I do like the stealthiness of it, but yeah, so of course I've got full control over it, so that's it, back to whisper stealth mode. So that's it. Tell us what you think. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.